Joining us this morning. Good morning to you, Khanyi. Always a pleasure speaking to you. You've just been listening as well to Solly Mapaila. I'm sure you've been listening to many of our other analysts here on the channel, and I'm still getting the sense, it's even a case of whenever I ask the question, the elephant in the room, talking around Ace Magashule. No one in the party seems to be talking directly to it. Why do you think that is? That was very much the elephant in the room last night, wasn't it?
It definitely was. A very good morning to you, Gareth. Gareth, before we get deeply into the issues of Ace Magashule, I just want to pick up on what Solly Mapaila was saying, just in terms of the SACP's reaction. Last night, we saw the SG of the SACP played Zimande also giving and conveying his message to the ANC. And there were a number of things that stood out in what the SACP has said, which I was hoping that Solly Mapaila would also get to. You know, the SACP has said that it is holding the ANC accountable to stick to its resolutions and not add names and surnames to resolutions so that it seems as if they are targeting individuals. Now, that for me was a direct jab onto the Ace Magashule issue because, of course, we know that the very first thing that came out was whether the ANC was going to stick to its resolution taken at a special sitting of the NEC in August last year, where it resolved that those who have been accused or charged with any types of allegations of corruption must stand down. And so that to me says, you know, the SACP is looking at the issues within the tripartite alliance, and it's actually zoning in on a number of critical issues that it hopes the ANC will fix moving forward. Another thing the SACP said is that the ANC shouldn't use important events and gatherings to push its factional politics. So the SACP has also criticized the ANC on its factionalism, which of course we've seen it rearing its ugly head in a more pronounced way, perhaps in the last year or year and a half. And so, you know, getting into the Ace Magashule issue from that, Gareth, I can say that the big elephant in the room is actually not the big elephant in the room. The ANC has made sufficiently a pronouncement on the issue of Ace Magashule in terms of the NEC met, and they reiterated their stance to say those who've been charged with corruption need to stand down. But what we are waiting for is that official day and that official statement that says, starting from today, I step down until my case is resolved, until the charges against me have been removed. I'm going to clear my name, have my day in court. We're still waiting for that statement. So for all intensive purposes, the Ace Magashule issue still really much hangs, you know, in the balance.
And as I was mentioning to Solly Mapaila, and I'm sure you heard my question, with us now getting into the next election cycle. It seems like we just had an election cycle, the next election cycle. Excuse me. Two other issues that we need to discuss, and I'd like your thoughts on this. Focusing a lot was the ANC president on this basic income grant. That's good news as well if it comes to fruition. And the ongoing discussion around the NHI. Do you think we're getting any closer with the ANC in actually putting this into place?
Well, let's start with the basic income grant. Last year, Gareth, you'll remember there were issues where, you know, the service provider who was paying out all the SASSA payouts had a bit of an issue, and there was fear that social grants may not be paid out, you know, at the end of that particular month. And that's when we really started seeing how many South Africans are actually dependent, critically dependent on the social grant. At that stage, it was over 15 million. So my question is, with now the new basic income grant, is it something that is a short-term solution? Is it going to be a long-term solution? And if it is, can our economy afford it? Can we afford that large social welfare bill that we are currently going to create with the basic income grant added onto the existing social grant structure? Now, in the short term, we know that many people have lost their jobs. We know that a lot of people are sitting at home with no income. And so we would have to get greater clarity in terms of how is the basic income grant going to work? Is it going to be for people who were working and subsequently lost their jobs? Or is it going to be for any of working age age individual who should be working but is currently unemployed. And also let us look at whether we can afford it. We know that our finance minister, Tito Mboweni, is always all about the numbers. And we know that, anything that is proposed by government needs to be approved at a treasury level as well. In terms of NHI, we can look at the continued fight between public and private healthcare. Currently, just in terms of how the COVID-19 pandemic is being dealt with at a private and public hospital, level, one can ask, if there was NHI already in place, how different would the picture be? I don't think it would be any different. And to be honest with you, Gareth, I don't think that the private sector is going to go down without a fight, because the big fear, of course, is that the NHI is going to cause, the private healthcare system to start attending patients that it may not necessarily see right now. There's always been issues of class and elitism that's been attached to private healthcare, and that pretty much goes out the window. So you also have that preservation of privilege, sitting right underneath, that inability or that, lack of that resistance, if I can say, to have the NHI, implemented by the government.
It's always a pleasure speaking to you. You always surmise things so beautifully for us so early on a Saturday morning as well. It must be all the coffee. Khanyi, thank you very much indeed. Giving a reaction to the January 8 statement, 109th birthday celebrations yesterday for the ANC. There's so much to unpack, and of course we'll continue to do that throughout the day here on ENC.